Let's discuss the type of woman that entertains insecure men. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been counseling men and women who have experienced abuse as well as those who have been perpetrators of abuse and violence. I did a post on insecurity. This person commented and said, yes, partners that loathe you and hate you for mothering them, yet constantly they put you in that position by acting and functioning like a child. Um, so I think it's important, as much as there are insecure men out there, there are women, if you're in heteronormative heterosexual relationships, there are women that also, um, that also stay in relationships with insecure men. And one of the reasons I feel like that women do this is because this is something that was modeled to them in their home. So their family of origin, maybe you had a mom or dad dynamic and where insecurity was modeled. Maybe you were raised by mothers. A lot of women and girls are raised by their mothers to take care of a man or keep a man. There's that kind of rhetoric there. Um, but I think also too, if you're empathic, or if you're in a profession, any sort of therapy profession, teacher, nurses, doctor, any profession where there's a lot of empathy and care for people. I think, us as I know I've certainly been prone to it in my lifetime, and many of the other people that I've counseled over the years have been prone to it, just because they're we're empathetic. We got into our profession because we're empathetic and we genuinely wanted to help people. But when you have empathy, you have to learn how to manage your empathy. You have to learn how to manage it and put boundaries on the empathy that you have. Otherwise, you're going to be exploited by anyone and everyone. And so, it's not something where you can't. It's if you lead your relationships, if people pick up on that, it's kind of like a shark with blood in the water. This will manifest in you if people immediately, when they meet you, they start talking about their problems. So if they start talking about if they get any sort of sense from you that you're a listener, you're a helper, you're a fixer, a problem solver, and they immediately meet you. This could be women and or men that immediately meet you, and you're like, you're super helpful. You're basically working off the clock with no pay and no benefits. And they're going to continue to exploit that. And it's going to become more and more about how you can show up for me and how you can help me, and less about us actually having a relationship where there's reciprocity involved. And so you want to be careful with that. And a lot of times people who do this are afraid of not doing it because if I don't show up, if I'm not helpful, if I'm not beneficial in any way, then people will leave. Yeah, they probably will. If they're users are going to leave, right? So that's the ultimate cure for a user, is like you turn off your ability to be you. So you stop becoming super helpful. I think the other thing too is you stop having sympathy for a man. And I talked about this years ago on my podcast, where like if you're getting in relationships where you immediately feel sorry for him and you want to take care of him. So, people continue to ask me, and I did a post about love after lockup. A lot of these men are getting out, right? All prisoners, all inmates have a sob story. They're getting out, they're starting over. They don't have things, so that woman, whoever's waiting for him on the other side, is going to be starting out that relationship doing everything for him, right? Because some of these men who've been down 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years, they're basically like a child getting out, and they're going home to mom, who's going to manage everything and take care of everything. But, there's other dynamics like that too, where your man may fall on hard times. He may lose his job, or, he may have something happen and you immediately go into feeling sorry for him. And when you feel sorry for someone, unfortunately, you can go into caretaker mode, and it becomes less about caretaking, and then it becomes more of his expectation over time. And so you actually kind of get caught up in it. Whereas if you wanted to turn it off, or even if you wanted to stop the caretaking, you can't do it, because now it becomes an expectation, and he's calling you out of your name, or he's getting upset with you when you stop the caretaking. I think it goes without saying, if you have cluster B, people that are cluster B personality disorders that are constantly attracted to you because you're giving them lots of attention, you're super helpful, they can get what they want out of you. And unfortunately, women can do this, especially boy moms. So you have boy moms. There's nothing that that boy is going to want for her. She's going to give him everything that he wants. And unfortunately, that's going to translate over, to a grown woman relationship, because now you have he's going to seek out women who are exactly like his mother, right? And he's also going to have a tantrum or a mantrum whenever you say no, or whenever you can't do it. And so that's going to often make you feel like you have to do it, because you're going to feel intimidated, or you're going to feel guilty, or he's going to cry crocodile tears if you don't do it. You Women who really are genuinely invested, become genuinely, I think there's a couple of things there. Women who genuinely become invested in, you know a relationship, and so they want the relationship to be successful. And unfortunately for women, when they want to be the relationship to be successful, they dig their heels in, they roll up their sleeves, and they get in the trenches, and they get in the mud, and they become more helpful, sometimes to their own detriment, or even when their partner has stopped participating, right? Because they don't want to be a failure. And this is common in people with type A personalities. I can't fail. We have to work on this. I'm going to do it. Even if I have to do the most of the work, I'm going to overcompensate, and I'm going to end up doing most of the work. I think there's also, the other side of it, where you are, especially for women who grew up in abusive homes, or they don't really have a whole lot of support, you're looking at it from, if this person was me, I would want someone to do the same thing for me, because I know what it was like to not have anybody. I know what it was like to be down on my luck, and I would want someone to be invested in me. I would want someone to help me. Maybe you, I don't know, for example, you lived in your car for a year. Okay, well, now I'm with a man who's down on his luck and is unemployed, and I know what that was like to not have anybody help me. And so I want to help, because, I know it's not a good feeling. And, so I'm doing all the things for him that I wish someone would have done for me. And you can't look at it like that, because that person is not you. Their situation is not your situation, even if there are similarities. Because the more you sort of dig your heels in, the more you're going to you're going to expect them to handle it like you would. Because some people will take your help and keep on floundering, right? Which is what an insecure person will do. Whereas you took the help, you took the money, you took the whatever, and you actually got back on your feet. But you'll take your money and go spend it on cigarettes and Nintendo games and girls and, all kinds of stuff. So they're not you. And, so don't treat that person as though they were yourself. And don't come at the relationship from a place of lack. Like, I have to help them because that's what it is. I have to sort of help build and help rescue and, feed and nurture and love on and do all these things to get him out of the mud, because nobody ever did that for me. And I'm still hurting from the lack of, I'm still hurting from, how people didn't show up for me. And so I'm going to, pour into somebody else. Hope that helps. Thanks so much.